All right, this is chapter 3.1, homework help. We'll get started. For number 1, it says find the product or quotient. We're just multiplying here. So, remember when multiplying we can cross simplify, right? 7 and 7 are both divisible by 7, so we can make them 1s. 2 and 4 are both divisible by 2, so we'll divide those by 2. Now this becomes -1 times 1, which is -1. 1 times 2 is positive 2. For number 2, I have -2/3 times -9/10. Cross simplifying, 9 and 3 are both divisible by 3. So I can do a 1 and a 3. 2 and 10, those can be simplified both by dividing by 2. -1 times -3 is positive 3. 1 times 5 is 5. For this one, I have a division sign, so first of all, I need to make this mixed number into an improper fraction. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 4 is 13. Divided by -2/9. Remember, for this one, we need to multiply by the reciprocal. Multiplying by the reciprocal gives us this. From here, my 9s can cancel out. They both are divisible by 9. 13 times -1 is -13. 1 times 2 is 2. This then put as a mixed number would be -6 1/2. For number 6, a bird's nest is 12 feet above the ground. A mole's den is 12 inches below the ground. What is the difference in height in these two positions? Now, at first glance, it might be really tempting to just circle A and move on, but we got to take a look at what the problem's actually saying here, all right? So, I'm going to call my ground 0, right? Usually this is kind of our 0 point. A bird's nest is 12 feet above, so here's the nest, and it sits at 12 feet. Now, a mole's den is 12 inches below, right? We know that 12 inches is definitely a lot smaller than 12 feet. In fact, we know that 12 inches is equal to 1 foot, right? We have to compare like terms. So 12 feet, and then this is 1 foot below the ground, so really we would say this is -1. The difference in height is just, well, how far apart is 12 and -1? To do that, we can technically find the range of these two, so I can subtract them. This becomes a plus positive, or add the opposite number. Adding 12 and 1, that gets us to 13, and we know that both of these are feet, because I said it was 1 foot and 12 feet, so my answer is C. All right, for 10, 12, and 14, we're not simplifying, but rather we're just identifying the terms in like terms. So, to start for 10, my terms here are just what I see, right? 3z, 4, 2, and 4z. Right, I don't have to do anything with them. I just have to say these are the terms I'm working with. For like terms, right, this is where we look at, well, which one of these kind of match the same form? Well, we have kind of like two pairs, right? 3z and 4z are like terms because they both have a linear z attached, right? Linear being it's to the first power. We also have 4 and 2, which in this case we would call constants, right? They don't have any variables attached. They just stay 4 and 2. So that's how we do 10. 12 and 14 look very similar, right? So the terms in 12 are -x, -9x squared, 12x squared, and, and 7. Those are my terms. My like terms end up only being two of them, right? The only two that match are these squared x terms. All right, I'll use the little ampersand sign. Right, those are the only two. X, there's no other x's, and 7, there's no other constants, so I'm good. For 14, my terms are as follows: 1/2 x, or s, -4, 3/4 s, 1/8 -s cubed. From here, my like terms well, those would just be 1/2 s and 3/4 s. Right, those both are linear, leading to the first power of s. And I do also have my constants. I know they look a little different, but because there's no s's attached, these would also be like terms. Moving to the back side, number 16, now it says to simplify the expression, right? So I'm going to take those like terms and I'm going to put them together. I'm going to add them together. So here I have 12 g's and then I have 9 g's. I'm adding those together in total, right? 12 plus 9 is 21 g's. That would be it simplified. For the next one, right, I've got all of these have s's, so they're all like terms, but now I just got to worry about kind of each of these. So this one has 8. I'm just going to put positive, right? Positive s's. This one has 11 negatives and 6 positives. Okay, I know each of these are like because they will all have s attached, so now I can just make my 0 pairs and go on from there. So if I start crossing out my 0 pairs, you're going to notice that all 8 of these positive s's can be kind of canceled out with my 11. Moving over to the 6's, right, a positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. Left over are these 3 positives. So I would say that this simplified is positive 3, and then I just got to say what it was. Those were s's. Finally, for number 20, right, I like chop slashing these right away, add the opposite. I have 4 positives, 5 negatives. I know that these two added together would be a negative 1p. Negative 1p plus negative 30p. Right, 30 plus 1 is negative 31p. Here, notice I've got 2 different sets of like terms, so I can only combine those that are similar. Here, I've got both of these attached with a. I have 4 positives and 9 negatives. All right, if I cancel my 0 pairs, I am left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negative a's. Right here, 8 plus 6.2. Remember to keep your decimal point in the right spot. I should get 2 and 14. So to combine this all, we would say 14.2 minus 5a. Now, if you also wrote it, typically in algebra, we always write the highest powered term first. So really, if we were to write this properly, it would be negative 5a plus 14.2. That just helps us figure out where our variable is at and where's our constant at. So this is good. This is better. For 24, again, we gotta just make sure we're only combining those that are like. For this time, I have my 2c's here. Negative 2 over 3c plus 14, and I'm going to put it over 1 right away because now you can see we are going to need a common denominator. If I multiply both of these by 3, I get negative 2 third c plus, this would end up being 42 over 3c. Negative 2 plus 42, that would be a negative plus a positive situation, so they don't like each other. They're going to fight. They're going to lose value. 42 minus 2 is 40. Remember, 42 is positive, so it kind of captures. That's good. If we want a better one, right, we could say 13 and 1/3 C. Okay, that was my C's. Now I have to combine my constants together. Negative 9/5 plus 3/10. Got to make these common before I can add, so I'm going to multiply by 2 on top and bottom. This is going to be negative 18 over 10 plus 3 over 10. Negative 18 plus positive 3, negative positive. They don't like each other. They're going to lose value. Should get negative 15 on top, positive 10 on the bottom. Remember, bottom never changes. That's good. Let's make it better. Negative 15 over 10, that would just be negative 1 and 1/2. Last step we said is just to combine all these together. For that, we would do 13 and 1/3 C minus 1 and 1/2. Again, we typically put the highest exponent variable first. In this case, we only had the linear exponent. All right, 3 to go here. Number 25, on a hike, each hiker carries the item shown. Write and interpret an expression in simplest form that represents the weight carried by X hikers. How much total weight is carried when there are 4 hikers? All right. So, essentially what we want to do is we want to say that each hiker is going to get 1 sleeping bag, 1 backpack, and 1 kind of water canteen. So, if we want to say how much does 1 hiker carry, well, 3.4 plus 4.6 plus 2.2. That would be the weight that 1 hiker is carrying. So if we do all that adding really quick, 2 plus 6 is 8 plus 4 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3 plus 3 is 6 plus 4 is 10. Keep your decimal in the right spot. So that is the weight that 1 hiker carries. If I want to say, well, what about 4? Well, if 1 hiker carries 10.2 pounds, then 4 hikers, they all carry 10.2 pounds, meaning that when we want to write this equation or expression in simplest form, right, we could say that for each hiker, it's 10.2 pounds, and this X hikers mean, we're just going to say per hiker, or times the amount of hikers. Right? In our case, the number of hikers is 4. So we would put like a 4 in there. Simplest form, right? How much total weight? We just multiply here. This would be 10.2 times 4. 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Oh, sorry. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 1 is 4. There's only 1 digit after a decimal place, so make sure my answer matches. The weight for 4 hikers is 40.8 pounds. So again, your answers, that would be the total weight. Write and interpret an expression would be that. Okay, for number 26, evaluate the expression when X is equal to 2, before and after simplifying. So essentially what that means is instead of combining like terms, when we substitute it in before, we just put in the 2 and then kind of add everything. So if we do that, right, substitution, we always use parentheses to show that we are adding or substituting in, right? I'm just going to see wherever there's an X, I'm just going to put in a 2. Minus 4 plus 5x. Nope. I almost messed up right there. Wherever there's an x, I put in a 2. Negative 8 times 2 is negative 16. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. Minus 4 plus 5 times 2 is 10. All right, I like adding opposites always. I just think it's a little bit easier. Let's see, negative 16 plus 5 would be negative 11. Negative 11 plus negative 4 is negative 15. Negative 15 plus negative 15 is negative 19. Negative 19 and positive 10, those would cancel, or they don't like each other, they subtract. I get an answer of negative 9. All right, so that's without simplifying. If we simplify it first, right, I'm going to rewrite what I have. Negative 8x plus 5 minus 2x minus 4 plus 5x. Combining like terms here, we would do negative 8x minus 2x or plus negative 2x is negative 10x's. We would then combine the other x with it. Negative 10 plus positive 5. That would result in a negative 5x. Combining our constants here, 5 plus negative 4 would be plus 1 or positive 1. So our simplified equation would be negative 5x plus 1. From here now, I would just substitute in a 2. Right? This would be negative 5 times 2 is negative 10, plus positive 1 is negative 9. As expected, my answer should match. They're the exact same thing, just simplified. When it says, what method do you prefer? Personally, for me, I prefer this method, right? Get this into a simpler looking equation. I only have to substitute once, and then I can go from there. So when I explain, I would say, I only have to substitute one time. That would be why I like it a lot more. Okay. So it says, for number 30, it says, find the earnings for washing and waxing 12 cars and 8 trucks. All right. So essentially what we can do here is we can say, all right, for the car, I made $8 every single wash and $12 for waxing, right? It's saying in my problem, if I wash and wax, so add them, in total for one car, I would be making $20. Or we could say $20 per car. To make this into an equation, all you have to really do is say, hey, 20, and put a letter or a variable like C, saying every car I earn 20. For a truck, right, I earn 10 and then 15 for waxing, meaning every truck I earn 25. And every time I wash a truck, I earn 25, so I can say that. If we want to know total, if I wash that many, all we have to do is add. So what this says is every single car, I earn $20. Every single truck, I earn $25. Now it's asking, what if I wash 12 cars and 8 trucks? All right, well, if it's 12 cars, we know that every car is worth 20. Let's substitute in this 12 cars, okay? Kind of ran out of room here. I'll rewrite our equation, 20c plus 25t. I know that I ended up washing 12 of those cars, and I make 20 of these. For the trucks, every single truck I wash is $25, and I do 8 of them. 12 times 20, that should get us to 240. 25 times 8, if I have 8 quarters, that means I've got $2 worth of quarters. 240 plus 200, well, that's a really nice day's of work. You would have earned $440.